My mother gave me an expensive emerald bracelet before my wedding, but I turned around and put it on an octopus's tentacle instead, because in my past life, the moment I gleefully wore that bracelet, my sister's fingers grew increasingly slender and graceful, like a swan in flight, catapulting her to fame as a world-class hand model. Meanwhile, my fingers kept shrinking until even my palms disappeared entirely. I couldn't work normally, lost my income, and even daily life became a struggle. My fiancé called off our engagement and married my sister. My will to live began crumbling as I begged my parents on my knees for money to treat my illness. They took me to a private hospital abroad where doctors administered euthanasia. After being force-fed medication, I discovered the emerald bracelet my mother gave me wasn't a family heirloom. It was a cursed object specifically purchased for me. All this was done to turn my slender, delicate fingers into vessels for my sister's soul. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day Mom gave me that emerald bracelet. Ria, this emerald bracelet has been passed down from your grandmother's generation. They say it's incredibly rare and valuable. Keep it. When you marry, this dowry will ensure your in-laws treat you with respect. The moment Mom handed me that emerald bracelet, I knew I'd been reborn. The agony and despair of my past life, watching helplessly as my parents forced medication down my throat for euthanasia, still felt viscerally real. I almost couldn't stop myself from throwing the bracelet right in my mother's face, but this time, they won't get off so easily. I'll make sure they get a taste of this agony. Mom, this is too precious. I can't accept it. 5. What kind of marriage is this without proper dowry? Life at your in-laws won't be like home. A substantial dowry gives you leverage. Your mother-in-law will mind her words and never dare look down on you. Mom, I've already bought our marital home. Having a property as dowry will earn me respect from his family. Don't worry, no one ever complains about too much dowry, Mom said earnestly, looking at me. Just listen to your mother. I'd never steer you wrong. You're my daughter. Why would I ever harm you? Seeing me still frozen in place, she added, what are you spacing out for? Take it already and put it on, let me see how it looks. To ease her worries and stop her from resorting to bizarre remedies or roundabout ways to torment me, I feigned delight as I took the bracelet into my hands. I turned it this way and that, examining it from every angle, absolutely thrilled. Thanks, Mom. Ria, try it on quick. This bracelet will look stunning on your delicate, slender hands. You should wear it every single day from now on. Oh, every single day. How charming. Fine. I'll make sure to indulge you. There's absolutely no blood relation between me and my so-called sister, mother, or father. I'm their adopted child. After getting married, my parents tried hard to conceive but couldn't. Following elders' advice, they adopted me from an orphanage. Surprisingly, just 6 months later, Mom got pregnant and gave birth to my sister. Fortunately, even after my sister was born, my parents treated me as their own and never shortchanged me in any way. As an adult, I did everything in my power to provide them with a better material life, but what I never expected was this. They actually turned me into a monster, just to give my sister delicate hands, then euthanized me. I know I'm not their biological child, but what did I do wrong? Just then, my younger sister pushed the door open and came in. Her eyes lit up when she saw the emerald bracelet in my hand. Sis, this bracelet looks so exquisite. It would look absolutely stunning on your hand, not like me. It would just. Her voice trailed off into silence. I glanced at my sister's hands, then at Mother's. Genetics isn't something you can just bend to your will. My sister possessed breathtaking beauty, yet her fingers remained stubby and short. Even a cat's paws were more elegant. What seemed endearing in childhood became her lifelong insecurity. She tried every conceivable method to lengthen them, even resorting to bone-breaking surgery, yet nothing could transform those stubborn fingers. As for me, I was just ordinary. Her fingers were extraordinarily elegant, slender and delicate like willow branches, with porcelain white skin and graceful bone structure. Thus, I became their first dibs by proximity. Watching her suffer, my parents sought renowned physicians before resorting to dark magic, transplanting my fingers onto her hands. Mother murmured thoughtfully, Cynthia, your fingers will become just like your sister's, slender, fair, and exquisitely smooth, with jade-like beauty. My sister's lips curved into a crescent moon, her deep, luminous eyes crinkling with satisfaction as she smiled at me. Mom immediately tried to slip the bracelet onto my wrist. I quickly clenched the bracelet and said, Mom, I'll put it on later. There's an urgent matter at the office I need to handle. With that, I left home with the bracelet in hand. As soon as the door closed, I heard excited chatter coming from inside. This is perfect, Mom. My hands are finally going to be beautiful. No one will ever laugh at my short, stubby fingers again. That bitch with her ugly face, how dare she have such pretty hands? Mom, you and Dad never should have adopted her from the orphanage. Every time I see her hands, it ruins my whole mood. I get so upset I could die. If it weren't for her, my friends wouldn't keep making fun of my hands. 5. Sweetheart, if we hadn't adopted her, we wouldn't have been blessed with a gorgeous daughter like you. And where else could we find such perfect hands for you now? She still has her uses. Once she's no longer useful, we'll just toss her aside." Just then Dad walked in, and I heard him say, "May all your wishes come true, my precious Cynthia. Soon you'll have those delicate hands you've always wanted." My sister made no effort to hide her hostility toward me. I could feel her hatred burning right through my bones. Mom and Dad went out of their way to pamper their golden child, leaving me utterly heartbroken. I clenched my fists and let out a bitter chuckle. I drove to an ocean aquarium. This aquarium sells marine animals. You can purchase any non-endangered species if you don't want to keep them at home. They also offer boarding services for a monthly fee. I immediately bought the octopus with the longest tentacles, slipped the bracelet onto one of its arms, and asked the aquarium staff to take good care of it. I figured these long, slippery tentacles would surely fulfill my sister's wish. To put my family at ease, I had an identical bracelet custom-made and wore it on my wrist. In the following days, I'd rush to the aquarium whenever free to check on the octopus I'd entrusted there. Seeing the bracelet perfectly intact around the octopus tentacle gave me inexplicable peace of mind. That weekend during our family camping trip, I noticed my sister's hands had grown noticeably longer, a full 5 centimeters. I feigned surprise and said, "Darling, your hands seem to have grown more slender and lovely. Truly, a girl blossoms with age. Your face is radiant, and now your hands too. I'm positively envious, sister." My sister gazed at her hands, grinning with smug satisfaction. My fiancé Julian came crawling back shamelessly, not long after my rebirth. I broke up with him, yet he keeps showing up uninvited, showering me with unwanted attention, utterly exasperating. "Julian, what brings you here?" Mom asked. Julian suddenly dropped to his knees before me. "Rhea, please, don't break up with me." Then he turned to my mom with tears streaming down his face. "Auntie, please talk some sense into Rhea. I can't live without her. I really can't." "True, you'd be utterly lost without me. You've always been living off me." Mom shot me a look. "What's going on?" I said flatly. "I'm done with this." Mom quickly helped Julian up and pulled out a chair for him. "Sweetheart, whatever it is, we can talk it through properly sitting down. No need to kneel." Julian sobbed uncontrollably. "Rhea, please don't break up with me. I can't live without you." Then he clung to Dad, pleading, "Uncle, please talk to Rhea for me. She'll listen to you." Both Mom and Dad took turns comforting him. My younger sister looked at Julian bewildered, then at me, asking, "Who is this guy?" Mom said, "Your brother-in-law." I could see the shock in my sister's eyes, as if thinking such a delicate flower stuck in a pile of dung. "Yes, I'm the dung." Julian finally noticed my sister sitting nearby. He stopped crying, his eyes lighting up when he looked at Cynthia, a look he'd never given me. Julian pulled his chair closer to Cynthia. "So you must be little Cynthia. Your sister always raved about your breathtaking beauty. And now I see she wasn't exaggerating. With looks like yours, only the most extraordinary man would deserve your hand." Cynthia was practically floating on air from Julian's compliments. When someone as gorgeous as Julian showers you with praise, who wouldn't feel like they're walking on clouds? Our parents watched Cynthia with visible pride. I overheard Mom whispering to Dad, "Julian's looks are more than a match for our Cynthia. If Rhea insists on breaking up, maybe we should set him up with Cynthia instead." Dad chimed in, "I have no objections, but it really depends on whether Cynthia likes." I was so absorbed in listening to my parents that I didn't notice Julian and my sister had already left the table to admire the flowers. That jerk completely forgot about our breakup and was already scanning my sister's WeChat QR code. "Julian, I haven't even turned into a monster yet, and you're already eyeing my sister like prey. Just weeks ago you were begging me not to break up, and now you can't take your eyes off her." Julian's love-struck expression genuinely disgusts me. Seeing my fiancé shower her with compliments, my sister was so thrilled she nearly danced on the spot. Her gaze held both disdain and resentment, as if questioning how someone as plain as me could land such a handsome fiancé. "Oh dear, brother-in-law, stop praising me like this. My sister's so average-looking, she'll get jealous. What's there to be mad about? I'm just calling it like I see it. Besides, I was complimenting her sister, not some random person. If she gets angry over this, she's being petty. Frankly, she doesn't deserve to be your sister then." I laughed in sheer disbelief. 5. Couldn't they at least lower their voices? The wind carried every word of their gossip straight to my ears. I marched over and slapped Julian across the face. "Did you come here just to praise my sister? A freeloading pretty boy like you has no right to judge whether I'm petty or generous." Julian's neck flushed crimson with rage at my words, like he'd swallowed a pound of chili peppers. My sister gasped in shock. "Sis, brother-in-law just gave me an innocent compliment. Why did you suddenly hit him?" She then leaned closer, gently touching Julian's swollen, handprint-marked cheek with faint concern. "Such a handsome face. How could you be so rough? Sis, does it hurt? Brother, let Cynthia kiss it better." Julian looked at Cynthia tenderly. "I'm fine, little one. Did I scare you?" He turned back with a vicious glare and snapped, "Are you insane? Ugly as sin with a temper to match. Who else would even want you besides me? Julian, I spent our last lifetime tolerating your nonsense. In this life, I refuse to degrade myself catering to you anymore. Oh well, no need to trouble yourself then. Let's part ways amicably. We're through." With that, I walked away without a backward glance. My sister's fingers gradually grew longer, and within less than 6 weeks, they looked completely normal. Mom and Dad were overjoyed, proudly telling everyone not just about her pretty face, but also her beautiful fingers, yet my sister remained unhappy, especially when she saw me. Her gloom seemed to deepen then. One night, as I tossed and turned in bed unable to sleep, I decided to sneak into the kitchen for a snack. As I passed my sister's slightly ajar door, I heard her sobbing voice inside. "Why are that bitch's hands still perfectly fine? Didn't the bracelet guarantee our hands would swap? Why haven't hers turned stubby and thick yet? I don't care, Mom, Dad, make that slut's hands turn short and fat already. She deserves to suffer the same humiliation I've endured." Father chimed in. "Strange indeed. After all this time, her fingers show no change. Could that Taoist priest have swindled us?" After a pause, Mother said coldly, "Patience. The priest wouldn't deceive us. Look how Cynthia's fingers lengthened. The magic works. If nothing changes soon, I'll chop off her hands myself and stew them for your soup. We took her in from the orphanage and raised her all these years. We've done more than enough." Those words sent chills down my spine. "After all I've done to provide for this family and give you a good life, now you want my fingers. Besides, your sister's fingers are perfectly normal now. What more could you possibly want? I never imagined you could harbor such malicious thoughts. Every inch of my body comes from my biological mother. Your family's stubby fingers have nothing to do with me. That's genetics, not something I can control. Why should I be the one to bear my sister's suffering, when I'm constantly compared to my sister and mocked for being plain-looking? Who's there to share that pain with me?" Dad exclaimed in shock. "Oh my God, honey, you can't do this. Our whole family depends on her support." Mom said indifferently, "Once our Cynthia's hands become slender and elegant enough to be a world-class hand model, she'll have served her purpose. Besides, adopted children never truly bond with their new families. I know that much. Everything revolves around my Cynthia. I'd do anything to keep her happy, and let's not forget, if we hadn't kindly taken her in, she'd still be struggling to put food on the table. After raising her all these years, it's only fair she contributes to this household." Cynthia chirped happily. "You're the best parents ever. I'll make tons of money and become somebody important. You'll live in luxury for the rest of your lives." I staggered in shock, bracing myself against the wall as I stumbled toward my bedroom. The moment I crossed the threshold, I locked the door behind me. "Looks like I can't stay in this house any longer. They're not just after my hands, they want my life." Without saying a word, I went straight to the house I'd bought myself. Thankfully, I've always been a top student with scholarships and part-time jobs throughout college, saving up quite a bit. I'd bought this place ages ago, originally planning to use it with Julian after marriage. No, I guess it's just for me. But my mom called me first thing in the morning when she noticed I wasn't home. She confronted me, demanding, "Why did you move into the bridal suite?" 5. It's not like I could tell her it was to save my own skin. When I stayed silent, she pressed on, "You need to move out immediately. Cynthia and Julian are getting married next month. That's their future home. How improper would it look for you to be living there? People will talk. They're getting married." Sensing my displeasure, Mom explained, "These two kids are truly in love and begged for my blessing. How could I say no? Ria, look ahead. There'll be plenty of other opportunities for you." "Well, congratulations to them then." Before I could finish, Mom cut in. "As the elder sister, you should act the part. I'm not asking you to contribute financially for your sister's wedding, but we'll be giving her this house as a dowry. You should move back in with us so we can look after each other. Living alone like this. What if you fall ill with nobody around to notice?" Mom, "I've contributed so much to this family over the years, even if it's not recognized as merit. There's been plenty of hard work. Besides, I bought this house with my own money. I have every right to decide what to do with it. You don't need to make decisions for me." The moment I finished speaking, my mother flew into a rage. "Listen to yourself. How can you say such things? If we hadn't adopted you and given you a good upbringing, would you even be capable of earning enough to buy a house? You're so selfish. You won't even help your own sister. Just an ungrateful stray. Impossible to raise right. Transfer the deed of this house you bought to your sister immediately, and put all your assets under my name for safekeeping. We can't have scheming people eyeing your property. By the way, give your sister an extra $6,000 a month for living expenses. She's marrying Julian soon and won't be living at home anymore." Everything costs money these days, this way her in-laws won't look down on her, expecting something for nothing. Keep dreaming, that's some wishful thinking in broad daylight. Why should I hand over the house I worked my ass off to buy? I couldn't care less about trash like Julian, but this house isn't some cheating bastard, it won't betray me. Mom, sis already has a job and can support herself, I can't afford to give her 6,000 monthly. If you want to give her money, do it yourself. Besides, I bought that house with my own money, I'm not giving it to her. Isn't it only natural for an older sister to provide for her younger sister? Besides, you don't even have a partner right now. Keeping that house is just a waste. Might as well give it to your sister as a dowry. Mom, stop guilt-tripping me. This is my house, and I said I'm not giving it away. End of discussion, you ungrateful brat. Your father and I took you in from the orphanage, raised you with care. And this is how you repay us? Can't even do this one small thing for your sister by giving her the house. What a heartless wretch. Looks like Mom won't let this go unless I transfer the house to my sister. A light bulb went off in my head. Mom, that bracelet you gave me last time would make perfect wedding jewelry for little sis. I'll bring it over. It's not like I'm getting married anytime soon. Mom panicked. Absolutely not. What's given is given. We don't take back gifts in this family. But it's just sitting unused with me, and sis is getting married next month. It'd be perfect timing. Oh heavens no, you must keep wearing that bracelet. It's your protection charm, understand? This emerald bracelet was clearly meant to be mine. Just then, someone knocked. The security feed showed my sister and Julian standing outside, hand in hand and shoulder to shoulder. They kept knocking persistently, certain I was home. What on earth are they doing here at this hour? I opened the door impatiently and asked, "What do you want?" My sister spoke first. "We came to check out the wedding suite." Then she flashed the diamond ring on her finger in front of me. The diamond didn't catch my eye, but I noticed her fingers seemed even longer than before. "Your wedding suite isn't here. Turn right when you leave, and don't let the door hit you on the way out." I kept pushing them out while talking. How could these two be so shameless, sis? Mom said this house would be mine and brother's wedding home. Want it? Pay up, and the house is yours. Julian pointed at my nose and said, "Rhea, bringing up money ruins relationships. Cynthia's your own sister. How could you refuse to give her a house for her wedding?" I rolled up my sleeves and advanced on Julian. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Julian staggered backward as Cynthia stepped in front of him. In a sickly sweet voice, she cooed, "Sis, we're getting married next month. It's not proper to keep living at home, since you're not marrying anyone. Are you just jealous? Look how much prettier I am than you, how delicate my hands have become. That's why you're making things difficult, isn't it?" She never misses a chance to brag about how her hands are getting prettier, I said. "I bought this house with my own money, didn't cost you a dime. What's it to you? How does that make me jealous or difficult?" 5. My sister cozied up behind Julian, whimpering, "Big bro, sis is so scary. I'm really frightened." Then she turned to me with puppy dog eyes. "Sis, I just want your blessing for Julian and me." Julian sneered, "Rhea, stop being so shameless. This place rightfully belongs to Cynthia. Hand it over for our wedding or you'll regret it." Their audacity made me roll my eyes so hard they nearly got stuck. Truly, birds of a feather flock together. Fine, since you can't afford to buy, I'll rent it to you, $6,000 monthly with 6 months deposit up front. Before I could finish, that trash Julian cut in, "Rhea, you're so materialistic. After mooching off Cynthia's family for years, how dare you demand money? You should be grateful we're not billing you, right, sis? Mom and Dad adopted you from the orphanage and raised you all these years. Don't you think you owe them some gratitude? It's not like my brother and I actually need you, you're just temporary help. I've already submitted my modeling portfolio, and agencies will be contacting me soon. Once I make it big, I won't forget to repay you." Those two bastards truly deserve each other. That keyboard's getting quite the workout. Watching my sister's increasingly disproportionate hands, I remarked thoughtfully, "Your body proportions are off. Modeling might not be your best career path." My sister pointed at my nose angrily and snapped, "Who do you think you are, you ugly hag? You've got no right to judge me." Seeing my refusal to vacate the house, Julian flew into a rage. "Rhea, it's your ugly face and nasty attitude that make you unworthy of my love. Julian, you pathetic gold-digging pretty boy. What makes you think you're qualified to talk about love with me?" Julian was so furious he tried to hit me, but I was quicker. I mustered all my strength and slapped him hard, sending him staggering. He barely kept his balance before grabbing my sister's arm for support. At that moment, my sister suddenly let out a piercing scream. Julian brutally tore off her hand, only for a new one to instantly sprout from the severed stump, but this newly grown limb was unnaturally elongated, slender, and slick, just like an octopus tentacle. The younger sister was so terrified she nearly had a mental breakdown and was rushed to the hospital. Doctors from major hospitals held emergency meetings but couldn't diagnose the cause. What's more alarming is that the hand became unnaturally soft and boneless. Over time, her other fingers began snapping off, only to regrow into long, slender, eerily smooth new hands to prevent further deterioration. Doctors ultimately decided to amputate the sister's affected limbs. My sister would absolutely be the first to object. She's been obsessively self-conscious about her hands her entire life. She decided to sever the newly grown hand, trying to return to her original state, but within half an hour after the surgery, the severed hand grew back, longer, slimmer, and even more unnervingly smooth than before. Everyone was utterly terrified. My sister was sobbing her heart out. How could this happen? How can I ever show my face in public again? Dad was on the verge of tears, blaming Mom repeatedly. Where did you get that cursed thing? Look what you've done to our daughter. Mom kept muttering to herself. It's all my fault, all my fault. Everyone said that Taoist priest never fails. I don't understand why this happened. I hid outside the hospital room, laughing without a care in the world. The doctor entered the room and said, "We're still investigating the cause, and currently there's no effective treatment. Would you prefer to stay for observation or go home?" My younger sister completely broke down. Mom looked at Dad and said, "What should we do? You need to make a decision." Dad replied, "Let's stay for observation. That way we can handle any emergencies promptly." Mom chimed in, "Exactly, money's no issue. If we're short, just squeeze it out of that bitch. As long as we can cure our precious, nothing else matters." Just as expected, they set their sights on me again. The phone rang with impeccable timing. It was Mom's voice. "Ria, where are you? Your sister needs to stay in the hospital for observation. Go pay the bills and handle the arrangements immediately." "Mom, you sure know how to delegate." "Mom, I don't have any money on me right now," I said into the phone. "What do you mean? You've worked all these years with such a high salary. How could you possibly be broke?" Mom's voice trembled with agitation. I explained. "The stock market's been rough lately. All my money's tied up in it. I've given you plenty before. Why don't you dip into those funds for now? I don't care how, borrow if you must. Just get the money here fast." "Mom, nearly everything I've earned these years went to supporting the family. Don't you have any savings? Where are you? Get your ass to the hospital room now." I shuffled into the hospital room reluctantly. The moment I opened the door, Dad slapped me across the face. "You worthless bastard, we never should have adopted you. After raising you all these years, you won't even chip in for your sister's treatment. This family's mentality is truly warped." I stared at them and said, "You're not willing to pay either, are you? Otherwise you wouldn't keep pressuring me. Besides, Julian's right here. Why don't you ask him for money?" I turned to Julian again and said, "Julian, she's practically your wife. How could you let her skip hospitalization just because of money?" 5. Julian's eyes widened in shock. "What's that got to do with me? We're not even married yet." With that, he made a quick getaway. The whole family exchanged awkward glances. Dad pleaded pitifully, "Ria, you're my precious girl, and Cynthia is too. I can't bear to see Cynthia suffering like this without doing anything, but I just don't have the money. Could you possibly get an advance on your salary from the company?" After a moment's thought, I pointed to the bracelet on my wrist. "What if I sell this bracelet instead?" Both parents quickly objected. "Absolutely not. This is a family heirloom passed down from our ancestors. How could we face our forebears if we sold it? Then I'm truly out of options. I've already given you all my savings. With all the layoffs at my company, they can barely pay salaries, let alone give advances. Use the money for Cynthia's treatment, and I'll work harder to earn more for you. Money lost can be earned back, but a life lost leaves wealth powerless." Mom lunged at me screaming, "You ungrateful wretch, I should have left you to rot. That filthy mouth of yours needs proper discipline." I stared coldly at her, raising my arm to block her slap. She lost her balance and crashed to the floor. "I'm not paying a dime no matter what. What are you gonna do about it? How dare you hit your own mother, you little brat? This is outright rebellion." My sister slapped me, but it felt weak and flimsy, like she had no strength at all. I imagine an octopus's tentacles would feel just like that. Dad helped Mom up, then slapped me twice across the face. They wanted me dead, wished they could beat me to death and throw my body to the sharks. Now I see my so-called family for what they truly are. There's no point dragging this out with them any longer. Dad and the others were about to gang up on me again, seizing the moment when a nurse came in with medication. I immediately slumped to the floor and wailed hysterically, "Mom, Dad, please stop beating me. I've given you all my money. There's literally nothing left. I'm begging you, just let me be. Don't tell me to go die." The nurse took one look at my swollen face and tear-streaked cheeks before warning, "If this continues, I'm calling the police." They panicked the moment they heard the word police. Mom hastily yanked me up from the floor while I kept pleading, Please don't tell me to die, okay? Every penny I've earned these years went straight into your pockets. I kept nothing for myself. Supporting this family has exhausted me, but I never complained. I know I was adopted from the orphanage, so I should be eternally grateful. I've always put you first, fulfilled every demand no matter how unreasonable, but I'm truly broke now. Even if you force me to die, there's no money left." My wailing drew attention from other patients, who gathered at the doorway glaring disapprovingly at my parents. "Disgusting," they shouted, "treating other people's children like dirt while spoiling their own, shameless, making all these unreasonable demands." My parents stood speechless, shooting me venomous looks as if they wanted to crush me into pulp and swallow me whole. My sister gave me a resentful glance and reached for the water glass with her right hand, only to discover both her arms had transformed into octopus-like tentacles. Terrified, she could only scream incoherently. Father immediately called for the doctor to examine her. The doctor kept shaking his head after examining her. Just like that, my sister was discharged after a few days in the hospital. On the day of discharge, she wore long sleeves and kept her hands buried in her pockets, refusing to take them out. I thought we had to leave because we couldn't afford to stay. To everyone's surprise, the doctor told her to go home and wait for the test results. After quitting her job, my sister stayed home for a while and started dabbling in live streaming out of boredom. Her beauty could topple cities and conquer nations. Within half an hour, her live stream skyrocketed to the top of the charts. Many big spenders sent her rocket gifts. From then on, every live stream she hosted drew hundreds of millions of viewers. Such a massive fanbase caught the attention of several companies, eager to leverage her influence. They rushed to sign livestream shopping contracts with her. My mother threatened to kill herself unless I quit my job to become my sister's full-time hand model. Every time my sister live streams products, I have to step in as her hand model, the faceless kind. One day, a jewelry company took a liking to my sister's looks and wanted her to endorse one of their pieces. It turned out to be the same company I'd worked part-time for during college. The boss is this greasy middle-aged man in his 50s with a serious thing for pretty women. The only reason I landed this part-time hand modeling gig was because my plain looks don't catch the boss's attention. 5. But someone as stunning as my sister would definitely become prey to his wandering hands. Sure enough, the creep asked to meet my sister offline to sign the contract, though reluctant. She couldn't refuse the tempting offer, so our parents made me tag along as her representative and bodyguard. The boss's eyes lit up the moment he saw the young woman. He extended his hand, but she glanced at it and said, "Sorry, I have severe mysophobia and don't usually shake hands." The boss smiled warmly, perfectly understandable for such a lovely lady. "Please, have a seat." The boss produced a contract and placed it before her. My sister shot me a look, signaling me to sign for her. As I flipped through the contract and showed it to her, her beautiful eyes nearly popped out of her head when she saw the price tag of $130 million. She nudged me with her elbow and whispered, "Hurry up and sign." After watching me sign, the boss leered at my sister and said, "Cynthia, I'll text you the shoot location in time. Don't stand me up." After the boss left, I warned my sister kindly, "That guy's a total creep. You'd better watch yourself and don't let him take advantage of you." My sister shot me an annoyed look and snapped, "You're just projecting your own insecurities because you're ugly." Whatever, I'll just keep my mouth shut. It doesn't matter if it's this life or the last, they'll never treat me as family. All they want is to see me dead. Why should I even bother with this? It's none of my business anyway. My sister continued, "From now on, you'll be my unpaid assistant. On call 247 as repayment for mom and dad adopting you. No need for you to appear on camera. But you'd better be my extra pair of hands." Watching her beam with delight, I thought to myself, "Oh dear sister, if you accidentally reveal those hands of yours, you might just scare people to death." The day for the scheduled jewelry photoshoot arrived quickly. The creepy boss didn't show up. Instead, a few young photographers and crew members came. They seemed quite approachable and down to earth. My younger sister signaled me to give each of them a 1,000 yuan red envelope, which they gratefully thanked her for. The younger sister said in a sugary voice, "Hello everyone, my hand got injured last night by coincidence. If we need to shoot bracelets or rings later, could my sister do it for me?" "You can actually do that." The staff were clearly speechless. Just as they were about to refuse, my sister told me to show them my hand, and I obediently extended it. To their astonishment, my otherwise ordinary appearance was graced with a pair of exquisitely delicate hands. Those who saw my hands exclaimed, "Wow, these hands are absolutely divine. They look like they belong to an angel." My sister turned green with envy and plopped down onto the nearby couch in a huff. The lecherous boss, seeing my sister sitting alone on the couch, bent over to wrap his arm around her shoulders and planted his pig-like lips on her face. My sister tilted her head at his disgusting face, then couldn't help but pull her hand out of her pocket. Scaring the boss out of his wits as he scrambled away in panic, the boss pointed at my sister and screamed, "A monster, eh?" I knew this day would come eventually. With my sister's hand fully exposed, everyone was utterly terrified. She tried to explain, but ended up being sent to the hospital again. Her arms had grown so long they could sweep the floor. Mom and Dad rushed to the hospital. Heartbroken at the sight of their daughter lying in the hospital bed, suddenly Mom charged at me, strangling me with bloodshot eyes. "You wretched bitch, why are your arms perfectly fine? Why aren't you dead? What the hell did you do to Cynthia?" Dad came charging over and kicked me repeatedly in the stomach, the blows so vicious I nearly coughed up blood. My sister shrieked from her hospital bed, "Didn't this bitch already wear the bracelet? How could this happen?" She pushed Mom aside and strangled me with such force I couldn't breathe. You have to understand, she had 16 arms. Perhaps heaven wasn't ready to take me yet, so give me a reason to keep living. Just then, the police burst in and were visibly shaken by the scene. They pointed their guns at my sister, ordering her to stop. Reluctantly, my sister released her grip under the officer's watch. Mom quickly pleaded, "Officers, please don't point guns at my child, you're scaring her." Seeing Cynthia release her grip and slump lifelessly onto the hospital bed, the officer holstered his gun. They came to gather information after the perverted boss got scared out of his wits by the younger sister and wound up in a psychiatric hospital. The younger sister briefly recounted what happened during the shoot, while the officers took her statement, though visibly unsettled by the stark contrast between her strikingly beautiful face and monstrous hands. The officers maintained professional composure without showing their fear. That concludes the statement. Please keep your phone available and cooperate fully if we need further assistance. The officer was about to leave. At that moment, I took a deep breath, leaned down and said to my sister, "This bracelet is quite nice. Do you like it too? I'll get you one someday. I custom ordered this on Taobao for just $9.90 yuan." Mom said in disbelief, "You ungrateful child. Where's the bracelet I gave you?" I pulled out my phone, showed them a photo of my pet octopus, and said, "It's on there." My sister went berserk, "You bitch, how dare you hurt me?" 5. My parents pointed at me and chimed in, "Officer, this woman ruined our precious daughter. You must arrest her and have her executed." In the blink of an eye, my sister snatched the officer's gun unnoticed and pulled the trigger on me. Her slippery octopus-like hands fumbled, and before she could steady herself, she pressed down, right on Dad's head. In an instant, he collapsed, lying motionless on the ground, blood pooling around him. Dad looked at my sister with tear-filled eyes, clutching his head in agony, too pained to utter a word. Mom crouched beside Dad, screaming at me in anguish, "You wretched thing, we never should have adopted you. Look what you've done to our family." My sister knelt before Dad, her hands frantically stroking his head until they were completely drenched in blood. The sight of this scene made me smile. You should have seen this coming when you tried giving me that bracelet again. Later, Mom hired people to kidnap me, planning to kill me and dump my body. Thankfully, I'd prepared a backup plan to protect myself, hand over all the evidence to the police. Mom got locked up, no telling when she'll get out. My sister completely lost it when she heard Mom was locked up. She's getting way too deep into this. Detained in a psychiatric hospital by the police with round-the-clock surveillance, she kept eating random objects in her deranged state until fatal poisoning claimed her despite emergency treatment. Meanwhile, I embarked on a new chapter of my life. Story 2. Our village is called Vorith. The villagers aren't human, they're boars wearing human skins. By tradition, every 9 years we must shed our old skins and don new ones. Otherwise, blood will be spilled, yet with her dying breath. My mother desperately warned me, never remove the human skin. Deep in the mountains lies the herb peak. True to its name, the mountain abounds with precious medicinal herbs like wild ginseng and lingji mushrooms. Nestled on the slopes of Herb Mountain, Village Vorith always extends warm hospitality to herb gatherers visiting our lands. We spare no effort in providing the finest food and drink, oddly enough. Our villagers are generally quite lazy, most can't be bothered to walk even a few steps in daily life, yet they go out of their way to pamper herb gatherers with exceptional attentiveness. 1. The whole village waited on them hand and foot, treating them like royalty with 7 or 8 lavish feasts daily, each meal piled high with meat and fish. They wouldn't even let the herb gatherers take 2 steps on their own. They simply moved the dining table right onto the bed. They were even hand-fed every bite and sip, those delicious foods and fine drinks I couldn't afford once a year. These outsider herb gatherers enjoyed daily. Once when my craving got unbearable, I secretly stole a chicken drumstick. The moment I took a bite, my father caught me and beat me for 3 solid hours. He cursed me viciously, saying such things weren't for me, and threatened to break my hands if I stole again. I never dared to sneak food again after that. Even the skinniest herb gatherers would become plump and rosy-cheeked, with glossy complexions after this period. I remember herb collectors would stay in our village for about 10 days to 2 weeks. Afterwards, the village chief would guide these herb gatherers into the mountains to search for king ginseng and fist-sized lingji mushrooms. During these days, the village elders would make pilgrimages into the mountains, returning with pockets full of divine flesh. Only by consuming this divine flesh could our human skins remain taut and properly fitted, otherwise, outsiders might notice something amiss. My mother died because the truth came out. As for those herb gatherers, I never saw them again after leaving the village. Eldon, get the water boiling. My father returned from pilgrimage, his face beaming with joy. He carried a cloth sack, crimson blood steadily seeping through. A lump of pale flesh tumbled out, unwashed. Before he eagerly tossed it into the pot, the sight of that pallid meat turned my stomach, greasy and slimy, with thick layers of fat interspersed with scant lean meat, giving off a foul gamey stench. Seeing me frozen in place, my father erupted in curses. "Goddamn bastard, I told you to tend the fire. Are you deaf or what?" I ducked my head, hastily grabbed a handful of dry pine needles, and crouched to light the earthen stove. The revolting stench hit me right in the face as I got closer. My stomach churned violently, and I barely kept myself from vomiting. Left with no choice, I kept piling on more firewood, hoping the smell of burning wood would numb my senses. Yet my father acted as if nothing was amiss, humming a tune while pulling an earthenware jar from the bottom kitchen cabinet. He scooped out a spoonful of thick, inky black sauce. This was my father's secret recipe sauce. God knows what went into it, but it smelled suspiciously like some kind of animal blood. Even blended with other spices, it carried that unmistakable metallic tang. I'd cautiously asked about it back then, but he remained completely silent. Yet I still remember the way my father looked at me in that moment, a chilling gaze laced with wariness. That jar of sauce was his prized possession, kept under lock and key, forbidden for anyone to touch. He'd only scoop a spoonful to dip when eating the divine meat. Gradually, the meat in the pot began changing color, almost done. My old man grabbed a short knife, sliced a piece straight from the boiling pot, not even flinching from the heat, dipped it in sauce, and shoved it right into his mouth. My father's jowly face melted into ecstasy as he couldn't help but let out a pleasured moan. I kept my head down, silently feeding more firewood into the flames. Suddenly, my father lashed out with a vicious kick. "You fucking idiot, with the fire this strong, even goddamn divine meat would turn to charcoal." He yanked several burning logs from the stove, shoving me aside. "Worthless trash." My face turned pale as I nervously twisted the hem of my clothes. 2 years of his beatings had conditioned me. I flinched, anticipating the searing strike of those charred firewood against my skin. Extraordinary. The ferocious expression on father's face gradually faded as he suddenly sniffed hard, as if trying to inhale every last whiff of the immortal meat's aroma. "Eldon, you're almost 18, what humans would call coming of age." I nodded meekly. "After next month's molting, I'll be 18. My father grinned, baring his yellowed teeth stained with blood, tugging at his own skin. He hissed ominously, "Do you know what matters most in being human? I've never left this village, so I haven't met many people. All I know about human mannerisms was taught by my mother long ago. I'm not quite clear about how to conduct myself in society." He sliced another piece of immortal meat, popped it into his mouth, and gave a meaningful answer. Timing. A sudden realization hit me, and I jerked my head toward the boiling pot. Pale flesh bobbed in the roiling water. My father picked up the knife, sliced another piece from the pot, and handed it to me. "You'll be shedding your skin soon anyway. Best you know now, this immortal meat is human flesh." I swallowed hard and muttered, "Those herb gatherers. Fatten them up nice and plump, good for meat, easy to skin." My father shoved the human flesh into my hands. "Eat it quick, or you'll suffer when it's time to change skins." Your mother refused to eat human flesh. Her skin wrinkled when worn, and Hunter spotted her. 2 shots finished her off. "What does this have to do with skin changing?" I gathered my courage to ask. Father licked his lips and said, "Eating human flesh not only helps our human skins fit better, but also prevents them from fusing with our bodies. If they fused, changing skins would mean tearing them off in bloody strips." An image flashed through my mind. My scalp tingled with horror as I snatched the human flesh from my father's hand, stuffed it into my mouth, and gulped it down after barely chewing. He nodded in satisfaction. He cut a small piece of flesh for me, then grabbed the rest and devoured it greedily, his mouth glistening with grease, dipping each bite in sauce before swallowing. "Clean up after you finish eating," I answered with a yes. When my father went to the main hall, I sneaked around to the back ditch and buried the human flesh in the ground, kept gagging uncontrollably. At last, I vomited up the meat I'd swallowed. My father lied to me. He's been lying all along. My mother, she didn't actually die by Hunter's hands. The day she died, I hid in the bushes nearby and witnessed the eerie scene with my own eyes. It's been the nightmare I could never shake off all these years, countless sleepless nights. I'd see my mother, drenched in blood, staring at me with sheer terror, screaming at the top of her lungs, "Run, Eldon, remember, never eat the immortal flesh. Whatever you do, don't take off your human skin." My mother died 5 years ago. I was 12 then, when all the grown-ups in our village went on pilgrimage to the back hills, leaving only us kids behind. Our household was no exception. Normally the pilgrimage lasted several days, but my mother returned that very afternoon. She came back alone. She was in a terrible state, disheveled hair, muttering to herself, and insisted on taking me away the moment she returned. To this day, I remember vividly how she stared at me with bloodshot eyes and asked, "Eldon, do you want to live?" Those were the first words she spoke upon returning. I was just a kid then, terrified by my mother's appearance. The opposite of living is dying. And I sure didn't want to die, so I quickly nodded in agreement. After I consented, my mother led me out of the village and up the mountain path. We stopped when we reached the mountaintop. I'm confused. Shouldn't we be running downhill if we're trying to escape? Why head for the mountaintop? The moment I voiced my doubt, Mother froze, staring blankly at our surroundings. She murmured dazedly, "Eldon, are we actually on a mountain?" Then my mother's face twisted in utter despair and terror as she grabbed my hand to flee down the mountain, but after just 2 steps, she suddenly whirled around to stare at the cliff behind us, as if beholding something unspeakable. She stood frozen for 2 heartbeats before whispering 3 phrases into my ear: "Run now, never eat the immortal flesh, and never shed your human skin." The next instant, she shoved me away violently, with tears streaming down her face. She staggered backward to the cliff's edge before turning around resolutely. Then, black snow began falling from the sky. It was midsummer, with the sun still high in the sky, yet snowflakes drifted down. The black snow clung to us like coarse bristles. My mother collapsed before my eyes, her body shriveling into a hollow husk of skin. I felt no cold, yet my heart convulsed violently. I fled down the mountain desperately until my legs gave way and consciousness slipped away. When I came to, I was already back in the village. My father and the villagers told me my mother's human disguise had been exposed, and hunters had killed her. At this thought, my fists clenched involuntarily. The sound of chaotic footsteps reached my ears. I looked toward the village entrance. It was brightly lit, with what seemed like a crowd gathered. "Father, is something happening? Looks like some hunters have arrived." I shook my head. My father licked his lips. "Eldon, come on, let's go take a look." I followed as the village entrance was packed with villagers. 3 outsiders arrived, bundled up in thick clothing with hunting rifles slung across their backs. The village chief flashed an ingratiating smile as he conversed with the lead hunter. "Herbalists have been disappearing frequently lately. We suspect wild beasts are causing trouble in the mountains. My brothers and I are here to hunt them down." The head hunter slipped a few red bills into the chief's hand. "We'll be staying in your village for a few days. Make the arrangements, will you?" The village chief's eyes lit up as he pocketed the money. He couldn't suppress his grin. "Too much. This is way too much." The hunter shot the chief a disdainful glance, probably thinking, "Country bumpkin's never seen this much cash." I shook my head inwardly. The village chief must be overjoyed. 3 strapping lads arrived all at once. 3, normally, herb gatherers come one by one. 3, that's quite the crowd. In the following days, these outsiders were treated to the usual generous hospitality, yet these hunters were quite different from herb gatherers. Even after feasting daily, they'd still roam the mountains with relentless determination to hunt beasts. That day after the hunters entered the mountains, my father was summoned by the village chief, unable to contain my curiosity. I followed along. Had I known what was coming, I'd never have followed them in the first place. I crouched behind the drainage ditch outside the village chief's house, eavesdropping. "Chinsey, these 3 are real tough customers. They've taken down an 800-pound black bear before." "Stay sharp, Chief. What's our move?" my father asked. "We can't use the old methods anymore. Last few times I took them out, their gun barrels kept drifting my way. Intentional or not, they're watching me like a hawk." The village chief paused, then said, "We need someone else, preferably the least threatening type. Women would be ideal." "Theoretically, you mean our village women?" My father shook his head. "Built like pine trees, every last one. That won't do. Looks like they're making their move." I took a deep breath, running calculations in my head, waited to hear the next steps, but only silence followed, summoning courage. I peered through the window crack. My heart lurched. "They're gone. Both the village chief and my father are dead." I swallowed hard, scanning my surroundings warily. Had they spotted me? A few minutes later, my father's voice came through. It was too far to make out the words clearly, but from what I could gather, the voices seemed to be coming from the courtyard. That finally let me breathe easier. I lifted my feet carefully, avoiding the muddy patches to prevent leaving footprints. Circling around to the side room, I could just about hear what they were saying. Quietly, slowly, Eldon, did you hear all that? Around the corner, a ghastly face suddenly appeared, staring at me with a hollow smile. A chill shot up my spine, leaving me tongue-tied. Village chief, my head buzzed, my blood ran cold, my body frozen stiff. Just like that, the chief dragged me into the courtyard. My father glared at me viciously. You goddamn little bastard, you dare follow me, whack. Before I could respond, the slap landed, my cheek burning with pain. I was just catching turtle doves, covering my face. My mind raced as I blurted out. There were several big wood pigeons in the woods behind the village chief's house. I was chasing them all the way here. At this point, my voice dropped to a murmur, then I lost my footing, and fell into the ditch. Just like humans, we're omnivores. We can eat anything. Sparrows and turtle doves were like rare delicacies for us. Especially those flightless young pheasants. My old man would wolf them down one after another, his mouth smeared with blood. Hearing this, my father's eyes darted around. Really, I swear, Dad, I wouldn't dare lie to you. I quickly played the meat card, my voice trembling. Father's expression softened slightly, but still carried menace. Run off again and I'll break your legs. All right, Chingzi, the kid didn't mean it. The village chief, who'd remained silent until now, finally spoke. My father snorted and fell silent. The village chief turned to me with a gentle smile. Eldon, perfect timing. I was just looking for you. You're as skinny as a chick, makes you look tiny. That kind of smile on the chief's face gave me a bad feeling. That gives me the creeps. I forced a calm expression and said, Go ahead, village chief. The village chief shot my father a meaningful glance, scanned our surroundings, then ushered me inside. Chingzi, explain this to Eldon, the chief said as he shut the door. My father finally spoke in a hushed tone. In a couple days, you'll lead the hunting party into the mountains and lure them to the sacred grounds. So you're planning to use that thing in the sacred grounds? A sudden realization hit me, and I stammered, but that's 3 human lives we're talking about. The biggest creatures I've ever killed were just doves and sparrows. The thought of taking human lives suddenly made me queasy. The hell with fear. These humans are no saints anyway. My father growled, survival of the fittest. They eat our flesh, yet forbid us to eat them. Eat us, I froze. These lanky weaklings, actually this vicious. Humans are both cruel and hypocritical. The village chief continued. They wield powerful weapons and rule this world as they please. To them, all animals fall into just 2 categories, pets and food. We, including our domesticated kin, are nothing but food. The only difference is they call us game meat to our faces. My heart sank at those words. My father wiped his face roughly and said, Eldon, by killing and eating them, we've avenged our kin. A long silence followed. All right, I'll take them into the mountains in a few days. The following days passed uneventfully. The villagers would deliver the hunters' provisions to the chief's house. My father had me deliver our share, subtly putting me in the hunter's view. I'd always been overly cautious by nature. To the hunters, I appeared rather simple-minded. His meat-sparing diet left him with a rather lean physique. He had that harmless, approachable look about him. That day, Kale the hunting chief told the village elder about plans to scout deeper into Medicine Mountain, needing a guide who knew the terrain. The elder volunteered himself. Just as expected, I got rejected. Seizing the perfect moment, I walked in under the pretense of delivering fish soup. Kale's eyes lit up when he saw me. This kid's the one. The village chief feigned hesitation. Making excuses, the lad's not of age yet. I reckon this boy's got the makings of a fine guide. Kale slipped some red bills. Consider it early training. Pocketing the money, the chief finally shook his head and went to my place, putting on a show of discussing with my old man before reluctantly agreeing. Didn't even give me time to reconsider. That afternoon, Kale and the others set out with me, following the planned route. I led them onward. The hunters were in high spirits. Little did they know, they'd stepped onto the path of death. The medicinal mountain was lush with vegetation. Along the way, the hunters unearthed prized ginseng and lingji mushrooms, stuffing their pockets without hesitation. Bro, even if we don't find that missing herbalist, this haul's worth more than the reward money. Some hunters couldn't suppress their grins. Another hunter chimed in, damn right. These medicinal herbs are top grade, they'll fetch at least tens of thousands. I nodded. Kale beamed at me and said, Kid, you know where to find these herbs. I shrugged with a cheeky grin. Bro, deep in these herb mountains, premium plants grow everywhere. No surprise there. Kale nodded and motioned for me to lead the way. The journey was uneventful as I deliberately avoided bear and tiger territories. I noticed the 2 hunters grew increasingly relaxed as we gathered more herbs. They took off their jackets to bundle the herbs, carrying them by hand while their rifles, initially held ready, now hung loosely across their backs. Kale noticed and muttered some curses, but didn't make a big deal out of it. Without changing my expression, I glanced at Kale's bulging purse and the gun in his hand. Not enough, still not enough, I thought to myself. Kale better be carrying his gun too, this is life or death, and just holding a firearm makes me uneasy, so I took them the long way around. Holy shit, boss, this ginseng's thick as a damn radish, gotta be at least a century or two old. A hunter gasped and rushed over to dig it up. Kale's eyes gleamed with greed, utterly unable to restrain himself. In less than half an hour, he stripped off his clothes and bundled up 5 or 6 century-old ginseng roots. I sneered inwardly. Laugh now, you'll be crying soon enough. After looting, to my surprise, Kale was still holding his gun, though now with 2 bags of ginseng dangling from his hands. Talk about staying alert. Well, at least that'll throw off his aim, gives me a better chance to make a run for it. Soon after, I came to a stop, pointing at the cave ahead. He said, "Herb gatherers told me they always rest in that cave when entering the mountains. Shall we check it out? Let's go." Kale motioned for me to lead the way. I obliged. This cave was our sacred ground. Just 100 meters further and we'd encounter that thing. These hunters wouldn't stand a chance. Just a few dozen steps away, gunshots exploded in my ears. Bang. My head was ringing as I instinctively bolted, scrambling in panic. Bang. Bang. The rock beneath me exploded as a chill shot through my limbs. I whirled around to stare straight down the barrel of a rifle. Legends say the boars of Medicine Mountain wear human skins. Kale advanced with his rifle raised. Well, I'll be damned. Looks like we found ourselves the real deal. Heard the shot and bolted like a spooked animal that seals it. A hunter sneered. If we catch it, we'll make a fortune selling it to those rich folks in the city. Another hunter lunged forward. He grabbed my hair and yanked hard. My human skin tore open. Rip. A sharp shattering sound echoed through the air. My whole body went cold, trembling uncontrollably. Don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Kale stared at me blankly, taking forever to utter a single word. Damn, you're just a human wearing human skin, you freak. Human, wearing human skin. I froze, staring at my hands, still human hands. Then, I glanced at the human skin on the ground. I'm not a boar, I'm human. Suddenly, my mother's words echoed in my mind. 5. Never take off your human skin. A hunter spat in disappointment. What a letdown. Thought I'd struck gold for sure. The hell you playing at? Another hunter slapped me across the face, snarling. Talk. Why the fuck are you wearing human skin? The stinging pain on my cheek snapped me back to reality. Bro, I was scared. I blurted out. So you wear human skin when you're scared? The hunter eyed me suspiciously. I swallowed hard, tears welling up in my eyes. Bro, I'd never dared to kill anyone. I found this pelt in a cave. When I was little, my mom took me herb gathering. She was wearing black when poachers mistook her for a black bear and shot her. Guns terrify me. When I saw you entering the village, I just threw on this pelt. The hunter tried to say more, but Kale cut him off. Got it. Kale pointed deeper into the cave. This is the one. I nodded eagerly. At these words, the hunters exchanged glances, their eyes gleaming with greed. The cave contains human skins, likely traces left by wild boars wearing human disguises. Kale commanded, keep leading the way. I quietly exhaled in relief, lowering my gaze. The cave grew colder, its walls shimmering with an eerie green glow like clusters of dancing will-o'-the-wisps. I stopped in my tracks here, under the hunter's puzzled gazes. I turned back with a smile and shouted, "Hey!" The cave echoed back, "Hey, hey, hey!" The hunters. Before they could react, I covered my mouth and nose, bolting back the way we came. Glowing green powder cascaded from the cave ceiling, enveloping us like thick fog. Cough. Damn it, Kale hacked. We walked right into their trap. 2 dull thuds sounded. The other 2 hunters collapsed lifelessly to the ground. Kale's face twisted in agony as he clutched his throat, mouth gaping desperately. Can't breathe. 2 minutes passed. He collapsed with a thud, fungal threads sprouting from his mouth that coalesced into a plant crowned with pale green flower buds. Only after the last traces of green dust dissipated did I dare return. A sudden chill crept over my scalp, my head jerked upward, pupils contracting violently. What the agonizing memories surged back, flashing through my mind in relentless loops. In the air, mane like black snow came drifting down. The scene before me grew hazy, my limbs grew weak, eyelids heavy as millstones. I bit my tongue. The sharp pain jolted me awake. The last time I saw black snow was the day my mother died. That time, I blacked out completely, but now, I can't afford to collapse. According to plan, I should head back now and fetch the village chief and others, for safety's sake. They didn't follow us all the way. If I don't return now, they'll definitely sense something's wrong and rush over immediately. Then they'll discover I'm actually human. The villagers would eat me alive. Summoning my last reserves of strength, I fumbled for a dagger on Kale's body and began skinning him. I lost count of how many times I bit my tongue. At last, I peeled off the entire human hide and draped it over myself, but after just a few steps, an overwhelming exhaustion crashed over me. In the end, I collapsed unconscious. Qingzi, your son's been unconscious for days. Aren't you going to check on him? The hell I will. He's still breathing, ain't he? You've got ice in your veins. Didn't even blink when you offered your wife to the gods. It was for the village's sake. If she hadn't died, we'd all be dead. The faint murmurs of the village chief and my father drifted into my consciousness. My eyes flew open as I gasped for air, scanning my surroundings. Back in the village, the faint metallic scent of meat crept into my nostrils. Outside the window, villagers huddled together, feasting on immortal flesh. Human meat. My eyes darkened the moment I saw my father. So this was how my mother died. I clenched my fists, then released them, rubbing my cheeks hard before finally pushing the door open. The village chief noticed I was awake and handed me a piece of lean meat. Eldon's awake. Come, have something to eat first. I shook my head, saying I wasn't hungry. The village chief thought I was being picky and explained, "Don't worry, the blue mycelium in your stomach has been completely removed. It's safe to eat now." The blue mycelium refers to that glowing green powder found in the sacred mountain cave. Once inside the human body, it rapidly grows and expands upon contact with water. Kale and the others had their airways blocked by fungal hyphae. They suffocated to death. Not bad, kid. You managed to change your skin all by yourself. My old man gnawed on a sauce-drenched rib and grumbled, "At least you didn't embarrass me." Now I know what his sauce really is, blood sauce. Suppressing my disgust, I forced an awkward smile. "You rest here, I'm going to fertilize the fields." My father spat out the bone, picked up a bucket of lime, and headed for the hills. Noticing my gaze, he grinned. "Without these people's ashes, the mountain ginseng wouldn't grow as big as radishes." 6. These seeds were cultivated by your mother back then. If she hadn't gone to the sacred land, Chingzi, the village chief snapped, his eyes turning stormy. My father startled, immediately clamming up with guarded expression. Just then, several villagers rushed over with terrified expressions, shouting, "Something terrible has happened. What's all this panic about?" The village chief frowned. The lead villager gasped for breath, his voice trembling as he spoke. "The sacred land, it's bleeding." "Oh no." My father's face suddenly changed as if he'd realized something terrible. The village chief's expression darkened as he bellowed, "Take all the villagers to the sacred grounds." Every last villager of Vorith, even the children, set out on the journey. This is actually my first time making a pilgrimage to the sacred site with the villagers. When I lured Kale's group before, I didn't truly reach the holy grounds. We were still halfway there. "Village chief, is something wrong?" I asked cautiously. The chief sighed. "The sacred site is bleeding, a sign of the god's wrath. Our entire village must go to atone, otherwise our village Vorith will die out. Though I've never been to the Holy Land, I've heard many stories about it since childhood. There are both men and women in the village, but in truth, children aren't born, they're blessings bestowed by the gods. When mating season arrives, make a pilgrimage to the sacred grounds. Just sleep there for 5 to 7 days in deep slumber. Upon waking, you'll find piglets by your side. Plump and sturdy little things. And why would the gods be angry? What sins must we atone for? The village chief said nothing, only muttering darkly, "If the gods are angered, we must atone." Before long, they reached the heart of the sacred grounds. A stone statue loomed in the shadows, silent and still. As blood began seeping from its base, the chief knelt with the villagers, faces filled with reverence. "Spare us your wrath, O divine one." I noticed the village chief's lips moving slightly, as if chewing something. Seeing this, I took out a brown pill and popped it into my mouth. Whoosh! For some reason, the wind began to howl. The familiar black snow started falling. The villagers remained devoutly prostrated until their limbs failed, collapsing onto the ground. A blinding crimson light pierced through the darkness. The rocky wall suddenly shifted, revealing a group of workers in overalls emerging from it. The leader barked, "Hurry up! Haul away all hogs over 200 gene and piglets under 50 gene." The village chief fawned as he approached. "Director, sir, chief, what on earth?" My father's eyes widened as he struggled to speak. The village chief didn't even glance his way, too busy fawning over the honorable factory director. "Father," I said softly, stepping closer to him. Recognizing me, his eyes lit up with joy. "Eldon, you're unharmed. Quick, help me up. Hurry." "Father, they're butchers. You'll be slaughtered next," I said expressionlessly, my voice measured. "Just like when you offered mother to the deities years ago, vanishing without a trace, this black snow has anesthetic properties. The pill I took earlier was the antidote." You, my father groaned, unable to form words. I straight up slapped him across the face, then turned to the crowd in work uniforms. "This boar's huge, must weigh 300 or 400 pounds. Let's rewind a few days. That day, I got drenched in black snow. Truth be told, I didn't skin or change hides right away, because I heard another sound. That voice was so familiar. Following it, I discovered the truth about the sacred site. Behind the cave walls lay hollow spaces, entire factories disguised by rock-carved doors. The gates stood open now, revealing a familiar figure, the village chief. He was talking to a pot-bellied middle-aged man. The man told the village chief about a big order requiring fresh wild boar meat, planning a mass slaughter. The chief nodded repeatedly with an obsequious, fawning smile. Then the man added that in 3 days, the sacred ground would run with blood, leaving the arrangements to the chief. Hearing those words felt like being struck by lightning. The so-called Holy Land is nothing but a slaughterhouse. I learned from them that black snow was actually a potent anesthetic drug. My mind was reeling, but I quickly regained composure. A plan for revenge began taking shape in my head. Slaughtering pigs. My own father was a pig too, but I am human. I turned back to grab Cale's phone, swaggered toward the middle-aged man, and declared I wanted in on their operation. If they refused, I'd expose everything happening here. As expected, the middle-aged man gave in. I initially thought he was afraid of going to jail. Herb gatherers had told me that unauthorized construction in virgin forests was prohibited. It's illegal. Only later did I realize that wasn't what he feared. My concern is that if I spill the beans, he'll end up with way more competitors. Just like that, I became one of them. Then I pretended to leave, saying I'd come back for them when the time was right. Seeing me gone, the village chief and the middle-aged man went into the factory. Clearly they had other business to attend to. I took advantage of this time to complete my skin-changing ritual. It wasn't until I re-entered the sacred cave that I revealed to the village chief I was that person from that day. That's what led to today's events. Every villager's human skin had been torn off, revealing the muscular frame of a wild boar. Those meeting standards were dragged into the factory, while rejects were left where they fell. I tore off Cale's human disguise, watching the scene with cold detachment. The middle-aged man addressed as foreman rubbed his hands together with a grin. I nodded. Kid, since you're new here, pick any one of these wild boars. Is that all I'm worth? I chuckled. The factory manager forced a laugh. Well then, what do you want? 7. Got any suckling pigs? I could go for some roast pork. I licked my lips. As for the rest, with the information I've got, you'd better give me a proper position. Then you'd better swear not to leak a single word about the factory. The factory director's eyes turned viper cold as he added, or you'll never leave Medicine Mountain alive. You haven't made any backups, have you? The director pressed. No partners expecting regular check-ins, so that's what he's afraid of. I kept a straight face and countered. Take a guess. The factory manager's expression darkened before forcing a smile and offering to show me the newborn piglets instead. The facility wasn't large, divided mainly into 2 sections, the slaughter area and the breeding area. This was where the manager brought me, the breeding section. In the cultivation zone stood a massive glass tank containing a floating adult female wild boar. Its body was riddled with tubes. Nearby, nearly 100 similar glass containers held developing boar embryos. This must be how those pilgrim-seeking couples obtain their newborn piglets straight from this unholy nursery, the factory director said proudly. These are all bred from the finest selected genes, tender, flavorful meat with perfect marbling. Gesturing to the large glass container, he added, this sow is the cream of the crop, our absolute best breeding specimen. My eyes narrowed slightly. Beep, a piercing alarm suddenly blared as someone screamed. The wild boars have woken up, they're rioting. The factory manager's face turned pale as he grabbed his walkie-talkie. All personnel to the slaughter area, armed. Don't let those beasts escape. With that, he rushed over himself. Boom. The slaughterhouse gate slammed shut as all workers surrounded the wild boar. The foreman barked coldly, open fire. The command hung in the air. The deafening gunshot never came. Standing behind the factory director, the village chief, wearing an inexplicable gas mask, hurled a black sack into the air. Glowing green powder scattered in all directions. Meanwhile, the boars covered their snouts, eyes, and ears with human skin. Clusters of fungal filaments sprouted from people's throats as bodies kept collapsing. The dust settled. Watching the factory director's flushed face, I tore off my last human skin to reveal my boar form. Since childhood, I've worn 2 human skins. The factory manager twitched, pointing at the village chief. Traitor, bah. I'm the chief of Village Vorith. That's called undercover work. The chief spat fiercely. From the very beginning, this was all a setup. Every villager in Village Vorith came together to put on this grand performance. Everyone was dead. I rushed to the cultivation zone in desperation. Mother, we're coming to save you. The massive glass container shattered under my blows. My mother had never died. That day on the cliff, she merely shed her human skin before being shot down by the factory guards, plunging into the sacred cave below. This was later discovered when the village chief pretended to be the factory's inside man. In that factory, my mother became nothing but a machine for harvesting premium eggs. 8. As the liquid gushed out, my joyful expression froze piece by piece. This can't be. Impossible. The container didn't hold my mother, just an empty shell in disguise. Without warning, the air filled with a purple haze. Oh no. My face paled as I tried to warn my companions, but one by one they collapsed in the violet mist. A numbing sensation washed over my entire body. I collapsed like a sack of wet flour. Through blurred vision, a woman approached as I murmured weakly, "Mother, this very human skin was what my mother used to wear." The woman looked down at me imperiously and spoke into her comm device. "The new breed of wild boar has passed testing. With an 80% intelligence increase over the previous generation, we can declare the experiment complete." Experiment? A bone-chilling dread shot through my mind. Like a dying man's last spark of consciousness, my eyes flew wide open. "You liar, it's fake. Everything is a lie." A specialized bullet pierced through my neck. The last thing I heard was a woman's voice. "Notify the marketing team to prepare the new product launch." 15. Bonus chapter. My name is Zara. I'm a biologist. He also serves as chief scientist at UTI Biotech. 25 years ago, under my leadership, we developed a new breed of genetically modified wild boar with exceptionally tender, melt-in-your-mouth meat. Upon market launch, it achieved tremendous success. The company's profits increased nearly tenfold. Soon after, competitors launched similar products, plant-based meats with comparable taste profiles, far cheaper than wild boar meat. Under pricing war pressures, the company demanded immediate RD of new variants to boost market competitiveness. 5 years later, I successfully developed the second-generation wild boar. The highly intelligent wild boars, with cognitive abilities matching human children, became an instant market sensation upon release. We quickly achieved market dominance. To capture the premium market segment, corporate executives proposed enhancing the boar's intelligence to adult human levels. I countered, "If these boars possess such human-like intelligence, wouldn't they become virtually indistinguishable from people? Is there even market demand for that?" Response from corporate leadership: "The wealthy elites are already clamoring to consume this humanoid wild boar." I couldn't care less about that. Those tycoons have poured massive RD funding into this, which thrills me. Scientific research is my true passion. Thus, in less than 2 years, the third generation of wild boars was born, possessing human-level intelligence. However, like humans, these boars develop their intelligence gradually. In other words, for a boar to attain adult human intelligence, it must reach the equivalent of human adulthood, around 18 years of age. Further experimentation is needed. Time will tell. When informed about this, the tycoons said they could wait. With current medical advancements, living for centuries isn't much of an issue anyway, and so, I devised an 18-year experimental plan. We released a group of wild boars into the mountains, brainwashing them to adopt human social hierarchies. They established village Vorith, using the skinning and disguise techniques I deliberately left for them to masquerade as humans. Being remarkably clever, they quickly put this into practice. I sent cloned humans disguised as herb gatherers into the mountains. None ever returned, lured deep into the wilderness, only to be slaughtered and devoured. Not even bones remained. I'm fully satisfied. Proceeding with final testing. Among them, the smartest boar was a fellow named Eldon. As Eldon's mother, I stayed in village Vorith to deliberately guide him, for instance, draping it in 2 layers of human skin, warning it against cannibalism, preventing it from shedding its human disguise, leaving behind a trail of riddles for it. Observe how it utilizes these clues to uncover the mission objective: rescue mother from the factory, and liberate village Vorith from the slaughterhouse's control. If it leads the other boars to complete the mission, that means passing the test, that moment, then it's time for them to become dinner. The end. Story 2. A zombie outbreak has turned the school into a hell on earth, where a single piece of bread is worth its weight in gold. And I am the only one immune to zombie attacks, making food readily available to me. The bullying and humiliation of the past have disappeared. Everyone is now fawning over me, desperate for even a morsel of food. June 9th, the 3rd day of the zombie outbreak. The classroom doors and windows were tightly barricaded with desks and chairs, and the curtains blocked out all light, not even allowing a crack of brightness. All 41 of us were starving and parched, but no one dared to search for food or even muster the courage to peek through the curtains for fear of being spotted by zombies. The outside world remained a living hell, with screams heard daily, though it was unclear whether they were from other survivors in different classrooms being captured. I huddled in a corner, my head splitting and my body breaking out in cold sweats. I had a fever, being physically weak and prone to illness since childhood. The terror of the zombie encounter triggered my sickness, and after 3 days without food, my energy was completely depleted. No one paid attention to me. My classmates always called me a medicine jar and usually avoided me, let alone now. I still have a sip of water left. "Whoever really can't hold on, drink this first," a girl suddenly offered, lifting her water bottle. Her name was Bid, a delicate girl who used to be my desk mate. She was kind to everyone, including me, but after the class leader started bullying me, Bid also dared not approach me and could only look at me with pity. "Give it to me. I must keep my strength. Don't forget it was I who taught everyone to set up the classroom to hide. Otherwise, we would have been gone by now." A tall girl stood up. She was Gail, the class leader. Many people wanted to drink the water, But seeing Gail wanted it, they gave up. Weakly, I spoke. Bid, can I have it? I have a fever, and it hurts so much. Normally, I was invisible, hardly ever speaking up unless absolutely necessary, but now I desperately needed a sip of water. Everyone looked at me, their expressions filled with disdain. Gail didn't wait for Bid to consider. She grabbed the water bottle, drank it, and then pointed at me and scolded. Alicia, you want to compete with me for water, what's the use of you drinking it? Look at your sickly appearance, giving it to you is just a waste. Gail used to pretend a bit when bullying me before, trying not to get her hands dirty, but now, she no longer pretended, as she was the boss of the classroom. Gail, let it be, keep it down, lest you attract zombies. A boy intervened, he had bangs and wore a wristwatch, looking neat and handsome even in these apocalyptic times. My eyes teared up as I looked at him. Jacob, he was my desk mate in junior year. We had a bit of a romantic past and had promised to go to college together, but then I was bullied by Gail, who also became his girlfriend. Why are you looking at my boyfriend? You think because he spoke a few words for you, he likes you, he's just afraid of attracting zombies. Gail sneered as she walked towards me. Jacob sighed and looked away, under the gaze of the entire class. Gail grabbed my hair. You used to seduce Jacob. Even wrote him love letters. Do you think I didn't know? Now that the zombies have come, you still won't give up. I didn't seduce Jacob. I was just writing to him to expose Gail's malice. But Jacob didn't even read the letter. He just threw it away. My hair was almost pulled out, and my strength was waning. I could only croak a plea. I'm sorry. I'm having a heart attack. Please, I have congenital heart disease and a weak constitution. I'm no match for Gail. She let go of me, looked around at the classmates, and suddenly suggested, why don't we let Alicia go out and see? It'd be great if she could find help, or at least she could get some food from the nearby school supermarket. Gail's suggestion immediately ignited everyone's hopes. Yes, we need to send someone to check. The screams today have already diminished a lot. There might not be many zombies nearby. It only takes 2 minutes to get to the school supermarket. It's easy to go and get some food. Everyone looked at me. I was trembling all over. Feverish from fright, how could I dare to go out? I quickly shook my head. No, I can't run. Alicia, you have to go. You've never contributed anything to our class. You're always lagging behind even during field trips. Now go and get some water and food. It's your time to contribute. Gail pulled me up. I wrenched away from her and shrank into a corner. Come on, help me out here. Gail called for assistance. A boy and 2 girls approached. They often bullied me, and now they showed no mercy. Quietly open a window and let Alicia crawl out, Gail commanded, and then turned to me. Alicia, just bring back the food, and we'll let you in. Don't even think about keeping it all to yourself. This is the safest place. I don't want to. I shook my head frantically, but they pushed me toward the window. Some classmates averted their gaze, or bowed their heads in silence. Bid, trembling, pleaded on my behalf. Class president, Alicia has a high fever. It's hard for her to move. She can move, she just wants to hide. It's annoying just looking at her. Gail snorted and had someone stealthily open the window. 2 boys carefully pulled back the curtains, checked outside, and then quietly opened the window. It seemed there were no zombies outside. Gail pushed me to the window, and her helpers lifted me up and threw me out. No matter how much I pleaded, they wouldn't let me go. Keep shouting. Attract the zombies here if you think your life is too long, Gail cursed. Warning again, find food quickly and come back, or I'll send someone else out, and the next one will be Bid. What? Bid's face turned pale, and he started crying on the spot. I rolled onto the corridor, and the classmates immediately closed the window and drew the curtains. I shivered violently, sweat dripping into my eyes. The sheer terror made me weak. I could only cover my mouth to stop myself from making any noise. It took me a full 2 minutes to catch my breath. And then I tried to open the window, but it was locked from the inside. Zombie moans still echoed from the bathroom at the end of the hallway. A chill ran through me, but the instinct to survive gave me strength. I covered my mouth with tears streaming down my face, moving to the other side. I had no idea where to go. All I knew was that I needed to get away from there. However, when I reached the staircase, I encountered several zombies. Perhaps they had heard my screams and had come upstairs. I froze in place with fright and then turned and ran at the sound of the zombies' growls. Open the door, hurry up and open it. I ran back to the classroom and banged on the door desperately. Zombies were closing in from behind, and to make matters worse, about 5 or 6 more appeared from the direction of the restroom at the end of the corridor. I was trapped in the hallway. Open the door, help. I screamed at the top of my lungs and began to bang on the window. Finally, the curtains were drawn and my classmates looked at me in terror. Gail pointed at me and yelled, "We sent you to find food, and you brought the zombies here. You wretch, save me, open the window." I was terrified and frantically pounded on the window. "Block the window," Gail ordered, and several boys moved to block it, shouting at me to go away. In the next moment, a zombie knocked me down, and one after another, they pounced on me. I screamed miserably, and my last instinct to survive made me struggle to crawl forward. "Pull the curtain back, everyone shut up," I heard Gail's voice, and Jacob urgently said, "Forget about Alicia." Everyone move back, hide. My world went completely dark. 3. The pain was indescribable. It felt like being tortured. My head was about to explode, my heartbeat skyrocketed, and my blood seemed to boil. When I opened my eyes, I found myself lying at the staircase, surrounded by blood. It turned out I had made it to the staircase but was then caught and bitten by the zombies, unable to move any further, and I passed out. But why was I still alive? I felt something strange surging inside me. My thoughts gradually cleared, and strength returned as my heartbeat normalized. I was amazed to find myself full of energy, without even a headache or fever. I suddenly got up and saw many wounds on my body, all from zombie bites, but these wounds were superficial, just teeth marks. It seemed the zombies had bitten me and then given up. Was I not tasty? I was even more amazed as I felt an unprecedented sense of comfort surge through my body, a wonderful sensation of a healthy physique. I was no longer frail. Perhaps I had cured of all diseases, just as I was marveling. A growling sound came, and several zombies walked up from downstairs, sniffing around incessantly. They must have smelled the people in the classroom and were searching non-stop. Fearful, I turned to leave, only to come face to face with 2 more zombies, and I was blocked again. But strangely, despite sniffing around, they didn't rush towards me. As they approached, I tensed my legs and stood still. They looked at me, sniffed again, and I walked away. Feeling a sudden release throughout my body, overwhelmed with joy. Not only did the zombie bite not mutate me, but it also seemed to have improved my health significantly, and now, zombies won't bite me anymore. Incredible. I initially wanted to go back to the classroom, but I stopped myself, filled with rage. Why should I go back? To save Gail, Jacob, and those indifferent classmates, except for Bid. None of them are worth considering human. Clenching my fists, I quickly ran downstairs to test further if the zombies would still ignore me. After 3 tests, I was certain, even if I walked among a group of zombies, they wouldn't bite me. The vast campus was overrun with wandering zombies and littered with dismembered human remains. I was the only living person standing in this apocalyptic nightmare, breathing the bloody air, but for the first time in a long while, I smiled. I had never felt so exhilarated. My robust physique gave me a sensation of taking flight, looking at the zombies roaming everywhere and then at the classrooms with their doors and windows tightly shut. I felt a perverse satisfaction. The students inside would starve. I had been bullied for too long, whether by Gail, Jacob, or other students from different classes. Even the class teacher had hit me and indirectly caused my grandmother's death. I harbored deep hatred for the people here and for this school. Taking a deep breath of the polluted air, I ran towards the supermarket. I was starving. After 3 days without a drop of water and despite my strong physique, I couldn't ignore the pangs of hunger any longer. I swiftly reached the supermarket. The doors were open, with bloodstains everywhere and about a dozen skeletal corpses scattered inside and out. A few zombies roamed inside. They turned and growled at the sound of my footsteps. As if greeting one of their own, I paused. Feeling oddly like they were acknowledging me as kin, I quickly checked my heartbeat. It was still there. I was still alive. I wasn't one of them, but they had accepted me. On impulse, I growled back, and they all responded chaotically, though I couldn't understand why. Ignoring them, I started to eat ravenously. There was plenty of mineral water, bread, ham, and pre-cooked chicken wings and legs in bags. I had never found this food so delicious before. After eating and drinking my fill, my belly was bulging. It felt fantastic. I rested for a while and then thought of Bid. Gail would force her to come out looking for food, and without my help, she would surely die. My heart turned cold. Except for Bid, the rest deserved their fate. I packed some food in a plastic bag, including a bottle of water, a loaf of bread, and a chicken leg. Nothing more. I also took a fruit knife and put it in my pocket, then carried the food back towards the school building. Halfway there, I suddenly heard someone calling me. "Alicia, come here." At the entrance of a ground-floor restroom, several people were staring at me in surprise and excitement, a disheveled woman at the front waving at me. My fist clenched instantly. "That's my class teacher, Doris." When I was being bullied, I turned to her countless times for help, but she always dismissed me, saying I had no evidence and even scolded me out of impatience. It was only later that I learned that Gail's family had given her expensive gifts worth tens of thousands. However, that wasn't even the worst part. The most despicable thing she did was causing the death of my grandmother. Last Teacher's Day, my grandmother had knitted a scarf with her own hands for me to give to the class teacher as a token of appreciation. When I presented it, the class teacher publicly ridiculed me, asking what era we were living in to be giving such gifts. and suggested it would have been better to just buy some apples. I went home crying, and when my grandmother found out, she went out late at night to buy a new gift and tragically fell into a roadside ditch, never to get up again. My grandmother was uneducated and had always been extremely deferential to others, fearing I would be bullied at school or that the teacher wouldn't like her gift. She was even willing to risk her life over it. "Alicia, are you deaf? Come here." The class teacher shouted louder, then quickly covered her mouth, fearing she might attract zombies. I walked over expressionlessly, while a group eagerly watched the bag in my hands. As I approached, the class teacher grabbed for it. "Is it food? Give it to me." I dodged her, startled and angry. The class teacher scolded. "What are you doing? I'm your teacher. Do you want me to starve?" "Yes," I nodded, shocked. She raised her hand and slapped me, shouting, "Are you sick?" The slap buzzed in my head, reminding me of her past verbal abuses in the office. As she bent over to try and snatch the food again, I fiercely slapped her back, yelling, "Back off, wretch." Being shorter and thinner than the class teacher, I wouldn't have stood a chance against her before, but now I was full of strength and knocked her to the ground with one slap. She lay there, blood streaming from her mouth, staring at me in disbelief. The other students were startled, nervously swallowing their dry throats, seething. The class teacher got up, covering her mouth, and cursed, "Alicia, how dare you hit me? Catch her." The students were still dazed. "Catch her, she's attacking a teacher, she's worthless." The class teacher yelled again. A few students finally came to their senses and began to hesitantly approach me. I pulled out a fruit knife and aimed it at them, coldly saying, "This is between Doris and me, stay out of it." With the knife in my hand, they didn't dare move, probably intimidated by my demeanor. "Alicia, what are you thinking? Don't you have any respect for your teachers?" The class teacher was somewhat afraid of the fruit knife but was still furious. I smirked. "Teacher, are you hungry?" She immediately swallowed. "Of course I'm hungry. And you guys?" I looked at the other students. They nodded frantically, drooling. I dumped the contents of the bag, bottled water, bread, and chicken legs, all fell to the ground. Their eyes gleamed with hunger, yet they dared not come closer. "I only have this much, you guys share. Oh, and Doris, since you're the teacher and have a big appetite, you should get more." "Certainly." Here's the translation of the paragraphs you provided, ensuring that the language is natural and not literal. "I really think she shouldn't be given any, or she'll starve," I said, with a hint of kindness. The students exchanged glances and looked towards the class teacher. The class teacher was shocked and furiously yelled, "Alicia, you lunatic, you will not die well, you'll die first." I shrugged, then cautioned the students, "If Doris gets even a bit of the food, not even scraps, I won't come here again, understand?" Upon hearing this, the students were overjoyed. Grasping my intention, I would still bring them food. Without further comment, I turned and walked away. Immediately behind me, there was a scramble. 3 boys and 2 girls fought over a bottle of water, a piece of bread, and a chicken leg. One of the boys yelled, "Doris, don't grab it, get lost." "Exactly, you disgrace of a teacher, better off dead. What are you eating for? Keep Doris away from the food, kick her out." I walked away smiling. Looking back from a distance, I saw that area was now surrounded by several zombies. The bathroom door was firmly shut. The students took the food and hid inside, while Doris was left banging on the door outside, screaming, "Let me in, you cursed brats, open the door." She was abandoned by the students. "Alicia, you will not die well." Doris cursed me again before hastily running away, followed by a string of zombies. I didn't look back again and left. I made another trip to the supermarket, carrying new food back to the classroom. The teaching building was eerily quiet. Only the growling of zombies could be heard. Many classrooms were intact, with survivors inside. If it weren't for the mob of zombies attacking, it would be hard to breach these classrooms, but all the survivors were out of food. They wouldn't last many days. I returned to the classroom just in time to hear through the open window Gail's venomous voice, "Bid, it's your turn to go out and find food. Stop resisting. Why me? I've always listened to you. Why treat me this way?" Bid cried bitterly. "You go scout ahead. If it's safe, we'll follow. What are you afraid of?" Jacob said discontentedly. Some classmates also spoke up. They were all Gail's lackeys, forcing Bid to go out. Bid was pushed to the window, clinging onto it, unwilling to let go. Gail hit her hands hard. "Let go. Do you want us all to starve?" Bid kept crying, tears streaming down her face. I stepped forward boldly. "I'm back." Everyone was startled. Bid looked at me trembling, her eyes wide. "Alicia, Alicia, weren't you bitten by zombies?" Gail leaned out to look at me, stunned. Jacob and the others looked on, the classroom in complete turmoil. I laughed. I escaped, rolled down the stairs and ran. Those zombies' teeth were so rotten they couldn't bite me. My excuse was flimsy, but they had to believe it. After her initial surprise, Gail immediately focused on the bag in my hands. "Did you bring back some food? Give it to me now," she demanded, leaning out of the window to snatch it. I stepped back, laughing heartily. "No rush. There are too many of you and I only found a little bit of food. You'll have to line up. What line? Just give it to me now. I'm starving to death. Without me, who will lead you all out of here? Gail was frantic. Jacob also scolded me. Alicia, just throw the food in here. We'll let you in, or else you might as well wait outside and die. My eyes grew cold, and without another word, I threw the food behind me. With a crash, the food fell to the ground floor, hitting a zombie and provoking a roar. Everyone was stunned. Gail's lips trembled as she cursed. Alicia, have you lost your mind? Keep shouting. Attract more zombies, I said nonchalantly with a smirk. Gail was about to pass out from anger, sinking into a chair while holding her forehead. Jacob wanted to curse at me but didn't dare. One of the girls tried to lighten the mood. Alicia, don't be upset. Just go pick it up. Yeah. Pick it up. Don't waste it. Everyone was too hungry. Just hoping for that bite to eat. I nodded. Sure, but Gail and Jacob have to kneel and beg me, slapping themselves while they do it until I'm satisfied. Alicia, you bitch. Gail exploded in rage. I just walked away, saying, bye, don't go. Alicia, please don't leave. They all panicked, trying to persuade me to stay. Jacob, pale-faced, suddenly said, Alicia, I used to think you were kind-hearted, but now it seems it was all an act. Disgusting. I laughed. What right did Jacob have to say such things? Looking at this boy I once admired so much now just made me feel physically sick. How could I have ever liked him? Just looking at him makes me feel dirty, I declared. I'm not pretending. I'm very kind-hearted. I looked around at all my classmates, then turned to Bid. Bid, come with me to pick up the food. You need to help me distract the zombies. That's kind-hearted, right? My only purpose in coming back was to save Bid, apart from her. The life or death of the others didn't concern me. Throwing away the food was just an excuse to take Bid with me. Bid, you need to get out there. Seeing a glimmer of hope, everyone urged Bid on. For the sake of food, they wouldn't think too much. Whatever I said was the law. Bid jumped, terrified at the prospect of facing the zombies. But since I called her, she mustered the courage to approach the window. No, if you take Bid away, what will we do? Gail suddenly shouted. Commanding others to stop Bid, Jacob stepped forward, grabbing Bid, and glared at me fiercely. You think you can just take Bid away? Do you think we're fools? Without Bid, you wouldn't have come back. It's clear they have some smarts. They aren't easy to fool, I shrugged nonchalantly. Then send someone else to distract the zombies for me. After all, the food is just downstairs. Bottled water, bread, chicken legs, all in the bag, I said, nodding towards Gail, signaling her to come down with me. Gail paled and immediately shrank back. I pointed at other classmates, but they all shook their heads and waved their hands, too scared to step forward. It looks like you're the only one who can help me. Jacob, come on. I beckoned Jacob with a finger. Hurry. You're surely kinder than me. You wouldn't want to watch your classmates starve, right? Jacob's throat bobbed involuntarily, and he let go of Bid. Bid, trembling, spoke up. Let me go instead. Alicia won't harm me, and I will definitely bring back the food. No one objected this time. They had to trust Bid. I supported Bid as we stepped out. Her legs were wobbly and she needed assistance. Bid, hurry up. And don't you dare not come back, or I won't forgive you, Gail warned fiercely. Bid nodded shakily. Without another word, I pulled her away. I took Bid and left. I was very cautious along the way, afraid that zombies might bite Bid, so whenever I saw a zombie, I would shout a greeting. This was also an experiment. I wanted to see if the zombies would respect me. Surprisingly, as long as I greeted them, they wouldn't come close. Reassured, I pulled Bid and ran downstairs. She was a bit confused. Alicia, why aren't the zombies biting us? Don't ask. I'm taking you to a safe place, I replied, not wanting to explain. Soon, we passed by the bag of food. Bid was thrilled, grabbed it, and said we could go back. I chuckled coldly. Go back. I took the food and threw it up towards the third floor, where it landed with a thud against the window. The classmates opened the window, overjoyed. The food is back, right outside the window. Quick, grab it. They scrambled chaotically, likely to fiercely compete for it, like a pack of dogs. It was ridiculous. Bid was even more shocked, looking at me incredulously. Alicia, you just threw it up there. That's the third floor. You're so strong. I hadn't even noticed until she mentioned it. My strength was indeed great. Before, even shooting a basketball was a struggle since I was always frail, but now I could easily toss food up to the third floor effortlessly. Looking at my hands, I felt that robust strength once again. It was thrilling. I might be evolving. Never mind that. Keep moving. I urged Bid to continue, aiming for a safe house, as she was still in danger. As we ran, Bid hesitated, asking if we weren't going back. I looked back at her with a serious tone. What do you think you'll become if you go back? Her expression was gloomy. She actually understood that going back meant becoming a slave. It was just that she was too kind-hearted. The food has been thrown back. You haven't broken your promise. We can leave now, without further discussion. I grabbed her hand and ran towards the teacher's dormitory, with a dozen zombies trailing behind us. The zombies, attracted by Bid's scent, thankfully had me around. Otherwise, Bid couldn't have made it this far. Terrified, Bid followed me as we darted into the teacher's dormitory. We entered a room with its door ajar, checked it thoroughly, and I settled Bid in. The teacher's dormitory was quite nice, with a solid security door and located on the 4th floor, ensuring sufficient safety. Bid sighed in relief and slumped on the sofa. We'll live here from now on. Don't be scared, I reassured Bid. She nodded, tears suddenly streaming down her face as she knelt before me. I asked her what was wrong. Through her sobs, she cried, Alicia, only you have been so good to me. I thought I was a goner. I'm sorry. I actually wrote an anonymous letter to the principal, hoping he would help you, but there was no response. I didn't have the courage to help you anymore. I was too scared. Bid was somewhat incoherent, crying and sniffling. I hugged her tightly. It's okay now, don't worry, we'll both survive. Having settled Bid, I no longer had any worries. Of course, we were short on food, so I headed to the supermarket again to stock up. As I walked downstairs, the number of zombies seemed to be increasing. Their groans seemed to be communicating, notifying each other of the presence of living people. I thought for a moment, ran a distance from those zombies, and then started shouting myself. I had a strange feeling, like my shouting was summoning them. Soon, all the zombies had gathered around, growling at me. This was incredible. I laughed for a while before getting back to business. I filled a cardboard box with food and carried it on my back to the dorm, thinking about having a party with Bid that night. A small red dot hit my, making me squint. On closer inspection, that red dot was a beam of light coming from the administrative building ahead. From a window on the highest floor, someone was pointing a laser pen at me. Clearly, someone was asking for help. The leadership was undoubtedly in the administrative building. I ignored it and continued on my way. The laser flickered wildly, trying hard to catch my eye. Looking again, I saw our class teacher Doris at the window, pointing at me, furious but not daring to shout, probably afraid of attracting zombies. My eyes darkened immediately. Doris was still alive. She had managed to run to the administrative building to hide, and there seemed to be some figures behind her, probably a group of leaders. I continued to ignore her. Either she would be bitten to death or starved to death. Why should I care? I walked toward the dormitory, gradually moving away from the administrative building. At that moment, Doris finally couldn't hold back and shouted furiously, Alicia, you cur. You won't die a good death, just like your grandmother. You'll end up drowning in a ditch someday. My whole body tensed up, my blood boiling with uncontrollable rage that turned my eyes blood red. Alicia, did you hear that? You want to kill me, huh? Do you think I'll be as unlucky as your grandmother? I'm doing just fine. The principal's office is full of food. I can wait for rescue, wait for the zombie virus to be controlled. I'm going to sue you, you dog. I'll have you imprisoned. Doris kept cursing, venting her resentment. Many people hiding around were peeping secretly. My teeth were nearly shattered, and I had only one thought in my mind. Doris must die, whether there's food in the principal's office or not. I can't let Doris live. Her insult to my grandmother crossed my final line. I had never really considered actually killing anyone, whether it was Doris or Gail or Jacob. I just let them fend for themselves. But now I understand a principle. If my enemies don't die, once they turn the tables, I will be the one who dies. Once the zombie virus is controlled, Doris, Gail, Jacob, and even those classmates will seek revenge on me, expose my crimes, and they will still hold the power of speech. My eyes were cold, staring fixedly at Doris like a zombie eyeing a living person. I ignored Doris's cursing and went back to the dormitory first, but immediately came to greet me, asking uncertainly, Alicia, I think I just heard the teacher's voice. Was she cursing you? Doris's voice was loud. Probably half the school's survivors heard her. Never mind her, let's eat first. I put down the food, feeling a bit hungry myself. Bid was even more ravenous, having not eaten for several days. We both had a hearty meal, feeling comfortable. Bid started to feel sleepy. Now she could finally settle down, naturally needing to sleep after eating. After she fell asleep, I left the dormitory empty-handed and headed to the administration building. Moments later, I entered the administration building. The administration building had already turned into a battlefield, with countless mutated teachers and leaders, the corridors filled with blood and skeletal remains. Of course, there were also zombies. I went straight to the top floor. Standing outside the principal's office, the doors and windows of the office were tightly closed, but I could still hear the voices inside, perhaps because my hearing had also evolved. That bitch Alicia really deserves to die. She was always a trash student, and now she dares to harm me. I won't let her get away with it. Doris's voice was low, but it thundered in my ears. She was still insulting me, complaining to the leaders. She manages to get food, and the zombies on the road don't attack her. I don't know what method she's using, but we still need to seek her help," a hoarse voice said. It was the principal. The principal obviously hadn't eaten for a long time. Doris's claim about the office being full of food was clearly exaggerated. "We should take turns watching the direction of the supermarket. As soon as we see Alicia, we'll greet her immediately. And Doris should stay out of sight," another woman suggested. "Right. Don't scold her anymore. Let's wait until we've tricked Alicia into coming here," an older voice agreed. They were discussing how to lure me into helping them. Doris was visibly upset, calling me a damned beast deserving of scolding. The principal spoke in a stern voice. "Doris, calm down. Our priority is to trick Alicia into coming here. She must know how to avoid the zombies, and if we can learn that, we'll be saved. Capture her. And if she refuses to talk, we beat it out of her," declared a fierce woman. Doris was instantly excited. "Good, I'll handle her and see if she talks. After she reveals the method, what should we do with her?" the principal asked seriously. "Throw her off the building. Of course, we absolutely can't let her live, otherwise, what if she exposes us later?" Doris raised her voice. "I know you all are too scared to kill, so I'll do it, damn it, then let Doris take care of it." My heart turned cold. I held no grudge against these leaders, but in this apocalyptic world, they cared nothing for my life, only wanting sustenance while also not wanting to reveal their own vile nature. With a cold sneer in my heart, I had no more hesitations. In this doomsday scenario, it was either kill or be killed, and my conscience was clear. I knocked on the door. The room fell silent immediately, probably startling everyone inside. Then a middle-aged man cautiously peeked out from behind the curtains, pretending to be joyful. I waved. "Teacher, are you all okay?" Everyone looked relieved and overjoyed. Doris suddenly opened the door and pounced on me, pinning me to the ground with a look of malice and excitement on her face. With my current strength, I could have easily kicked her away, but I didn't resist, instead feigning panic. "Class teacher, what are you doing?" "What am I doing? You wretched thing. You came right to us. Perfect. You wanted me dead, right? I'll kill you first." Doris, full of resentment, choked me fiercely. The others quickly pulled her off. "Drag Alicia inside, quick, before the zombies come," urged the principal. I was dragged inside, and as the door closed, the 7 leaders in the room burst into euphoria. They had found their savior. Doris, still unsatisfied, gripped my neck and scolded. "Couldn't you have brought some food? Useless thing. I'll go get it now. Just let me go," I proposed, pretending to be scared. "No need, just tell us." "How do you avoid the zombies?" the principal asked. Swallowing nervously, his deep eyes fixed on me, the others also looked at me eagerly, all hoping I would reveal the method. I looked at the principal, tall and imposing, dressed impeccably, a true leader. "Principal, have you ever heard my name before?" I asked instead of answering. The principal frowned. "Alicia, I've never heard of it. Think again, maybe you've seen it in some correspondence, like a whistleblower letter," I said. My expression stern. The principal shook his head. "Have you heard of Gail?" I asked. "Gail?" The principal's expression changed visibly. Doris scolded me again. "Gail's dad is friends with the principal. How could you not have heard? So that's how it is. No wonder the complaint letter was useless. I've been bullied by Gail for so long and the principal didn't care at all," I said with a forced smile. The principal's face changed, finally remembering the complaint letter Bid had written. And he also remembered me, the victim. The principal remembered, but still stubbornly said, "I'm usually busy and don't often read students' letters. I wasn't aware of the issues between Gail and you. Once things go back to normal, will you help me by punishing Gail?" I asked again. The principal's expression grew even more unnatural. Doris slapped me. "Shut up. Who do you think you are to tell the principal what to do? Tell me, how did you manage to avoid the zombies? Let's deal with survival first, other matters can wait." A director spoke up, urging me to share my methods instead of worrying about Gail. "All right, I won't dwell on it." I smiled sickly. "I'd like to tell you, but I just heard you planning to kill to keep it quiet. If I tell you, Doris will kill me." Everyone was shocked, their gazes shifting around. Doris, unfazed, grabbed my head and slammed it against the wall. "So what? Are you going to tell or not?" "I won't tell." I grabbed her hand and bit it hard, tearing her skin. Doris screamed in agony. Frantically shaking her hand, I smiled sinisterly. The zombie virus was in me, and now it was in Doris too. "Alicia, I'm going to kill you." In her severe pain, Doris grabbed a stool and furiously smashed it towards me. I was quick and snatched the stool, striking her back. I had evolved by now. Doris was no match for me. She wailed continuously, her face a mess. Finally, the principal and others reacted, all rushing towards me. I dropped the stool and ran out of the office. Just as a zombie passed by, the principal and the others, terrified, quickly shut the doors and windows. "You're worse than a beast," the principal yelled from behind the window, furious. "The zombie is coming, she's done for." Another leader saw the zombie approaching me and concluded I was doomed. Doris, covering her nose and bleeding, somehow managed to get up. She walked to the window, staring at me like a hungry wolf. "Alicia, you're doomed. Your grandma deserved to die. Huh. Are you angry? I know you hate me because I indirectly caused your grandma's death, right? Huh. She deserved it. It was about time for her to go." She taunted me crazily, excitedly watching as the zombie neared. The leaders all watched, hoping to see me bitten to death. Finally, the zombie closed in, sniffing towards me with its mouth open. Die. Doris burst into wild laughter, exclaiming. She was so scared, she didn't dare to move. The leaders were all staring intently, not even blinking. However, the zombie sniffed around me and then walked away. The group of leaders was stunned, their eyes wide open in disbelief. Doris pointed at me, stammering, You, how is that possible?" As soon as she finished speaking, she suddenly vomited a mouthful of black blood, her body convulsing violently. Her pupils rolled back as she fell to the ground, twisting like a snake. The leaders were startled, and one woman instinctively moved to help Doris, but the next moment, Doris bit her neck and tore off a chunk of flesh. Screams filled the air, and the office descended into chaos. It was then that the leaders realized Doris had turned into a zombie. They hurriedly ran towards the exit, but the noise had attracted several zombies that were now blocking the door. Trapped, with howls all around, blood stained the windows red. It was a bloody massacre. I left without showing any emotion. By the time I reached the stairs, the screams from the office had ceased, leaving only the howling of zombies. I continued down and noticed a door quietly opening. Survivors inside looked at me in surprise. They waved at me. "Quick, come into the broadcast station. It's safe here." I glanced at them, shook my head, and left the building, breathing in the murky air which, oddly enough, smelled quite pleasant. After wandering around, I headed back to my dorm. On returning, I frowned, noticing that Bid was gone. Bid. I searched everywhere but couldn't find her, and noticed that half of our food was gone too. I had a bad feeling. Had Bid taken the food to go help others? That saintly fool. I rushed to the classroom, finding fewer zombies along the way but hearing roars near the student dorms. Clearly, their defenses had been breached, likely because many had come out looking for food, attracting a horde of zombies. As I suspected, Bid had taken advantage of the fewer zombies in the academic building to bring back food to help others. Inside the classroom, I could hear swallowing sounds. Bid had brought quite a bit of food. She was there, gently calming everyone. "Eat slowly, don't choke. Bid is so kind. Not like that Alicia, she's inhuman." The students were moved, crying tears of gratitude. I was about to kick the door open when I heard this and stopped. "I'm not good. Take your time eating. I just came back to get some things," said Bid, probably heading to her own seat. Soon, she had grabbed her things and was ready to leave. "I'm leaving. Take care," Bid said as she approached the door. "Wait." Gail's voice rang out as she rushed over and grabbed Bid. "You can't go. You came back just to get things, not really to bring us food. You won't come back, will you?" Gail's words raised everyone's suspicions. Jacob spoke up. "We can't let Bid go. Let's tie her up and threaten Alicia to bring us food. That will be safer." "Yes, tie her up," everyone quickly agreed. Bid couldn't believe it. "How could you do this?" "Shut up." Gail slapped her, forcing her to hand over what she had. Bid couldn't hold back her tears. "It's just a photo of my parents. They passed away 3 years ago. I've always kept the picture in my desk. Give it to me." Gail snatched it away forcefully. Bid tried to get it back but was kicked to the ground. "Tie her up." Everyone moved to restrain her. I heard everything clearly from outside, and with a strong kick, I burst the door open. The lock was completely broken off. Screams erupted, and the students were visibly frightened. Gail was shocked, hardly believing someone could kick the door down. "Alicia, you. Jacob was stunned, his lips trembling. Bid quickly snatched back the photo and ran to me, clutching my hand tightly. "Alicia, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have come back." Bid apologized through her tears. I remained silent, signaling her to step back. Gritting her teeth, Gail shouted, "Everyone, Alicia has broken the door. We're doomed. Let's fight her. Kill her. She's despicable." Jacob pointed at me and cursed. The students exchanged looks, many of them filled with resolve. They had eaten and regained strength. With their numbers, they weren't afraid of me. I took a deep breath and said slowly, "I gave you all a chance. It seems I was too lenient. What nonsense are you talking about, you damn mongrel?" Gail picked up a broom, full of incitement. "Everyone, Alicia wants to starve us to death. Killing her is self-defense, right?" Jacob moved to block the door, and several boys followed suit, using chairs to barricade it, fearing I might escape. Gail smiled with satisfaction, slowly closing in. "Alicia, if you won't let us live, We won't let you live either. I looked at her indifferently, scoffing. Such people only realize their mistakes when they're dead and in hell. I then looked around at the encircling classmates and asked deliberately, I've been bullied by Gail for so long. Do you really not know? The students paused, still looking angry, not caring whether I was bullied or not. One last question, and I'll give you one last chance. Tell me, who deserves to die? Me or Gail? My voice was hoarse and low. The crowd exchanged confused looks. Gail burst into laughter. Are you crazy? That's hilarious. You deserve to die. Alicia, you deserve to die. Jacob cursed loudly. Then, the whole class began to shout at me. You deserve to die. Gail deserves to die. Bid trembled, mustering all her strength to retort. Drop dead, both of you. Gail charged forward, and the classmates all joined in. I slightly raised my head, releasing a roar unique to zombies. As if venting years of dissatisfaction and grievances, at that moment, countless roars responded to mine, from the cafeteria to the administration building, from the playground to the dormitories. Wherever there were zombies, there were roars. They were all responding to me. The entire school was filled with fierce and terrifying roars. Gail and others were so frightened that they shuddered, and many even went weak in the knees, falling to the ground with pale faces. Jacob at the door was also terrified, looking outside in fear. Within just 2 seconds, he screamed in horror, "The zombies are coming! The zombies are coming!" The sound of dense footsteps approached. Zombies from everywhere were coming to find me. The zombies from the teaching buildings were the closest and arrived the fastest. They rushed over like a pack of fierce wolves, relentlessly. Jacob was paralyzed with fear, crawling inside on the ground while the boys at the door, terrified, hurriedly took shelter inside the room. Gail, trembling, commanded, block the door, but who dared to block it now? In the blink of an eye, several zombies broke through the chairs and rushed in. They were here for me, but upon seeing a classroom full of living people, they became excited and frenzied. Launching themselves at them, I grabbed Bid, who was shaking all over, and turned to walk out. One after another, the zombies surged past us. Ahead was a terrifying wave of undead, and behind were horrific screams. I walked like a contrarian, on a path despised by all. Bid fainted. I carried her on my back, stepping away from the academic building, looking back at the third-floor classroom from a distance. It was already surrounded by zombies. Almost all the zombies in the school had converged on the classroom, packing it tight like a can of sardines, and it was only a matter of time before other classrooms would be affected, putting all the students in the building in great danger. I stood silently for a long time, and after settling Bid, I headed towards the school gates. The school gates were open, and a few scattered zombies wandered on the road outside. There weren't many. Zombies were plentiful only where there were lots of living people. I stood on the empty riverbank outside the school, silent again for a long time, feeling a hollow emptiness inside. Perhaps it was vengeance. Those who deserved to die had died. Inside the school, the screams of other survivors being discovered by zombies began to rise, particularly those in the academic building. I clenched and unclenched my fingers, and ultimately, I let out a zombie howl. The school erupted. Countless zombies howling as they broke free and left the premises. Seeing that I had drawn the zombies away, I returned to the school, re-entered the administrative building, and found the broadcast room. There were people inside who had previously let me take shelter there. I knocked on the door, and several teachers opened it. Trembling, the zombies suddenly ran outside. "You can use the broadcast to tell everyone to come and block the school entrance with things. It'll be safe then." I got straight to the point. The teachers recognized me, but were confused. A spirited-looking female teacher's eyes lit up. "The zombies really did run outside. If we start the generator, we can not only broadcast but also power the entire school's electrical system and close the main gate. Then go quickly." I smiled and walked away. They were puzzled again, whispering uncertainly, "Who exactly is she?" 17. That day, the school's electrical system was restored. An independent system within the school, the main gate of the school was closed again, and countless teachers and students came out to help, blocking the entrance securely with various objects. Some brave individuals spontaneously organized teams to eliminate the remaining zombies, and the school finally became safe. I sat on the balcony, watching the students below who were overjoyed and crying as if reborn. Bid had woken up and stood beside me, timidly asking, "Alicia, were all our classmates bitten to death? Do you think what I did was wrong?" I turned to look at her. She hastily waved her hands. "No, it wasn't wrong. I was thinking, if the world returns to normal and they find out what you did, I'll take the blame for you." I couldn't help but burst into laughter. "You taking the blame?" The more I thought about it, the funnier it got, and I laughed until tears started streaming down my face. "What a saintly figure indeed. Don't worry. The world won't be normal again, a new world is about to begin, starting from our school, I said as I stood up, hearing the roars of countless zombies near and far, knowing there was no turning back. Humanity can only strive to survive in the crevices. New world, what do you mean? Bid was completely confused. Literally speaking, maybe I could be the king of this new world. Do you think I fit the part? I said, half in jest. Bid blinked and nodded vigorously. Yes, you do.